Hello and welcome to the show that searches out treasures in the homes of the famous and then sells them at auction, raising money for good causes. Today's celebrity was born in Stoke-on-Trent and he started out life as a teacher before embarking on a highly successful career in showbiz. He's an actor, comedian and TV presenter who fronted one of the most famous sporting quiz shows of the 1990s. And as a final clue, he's fanatical about football and one team in particular. Today, I'm just outside Crewe to meet a man synonymous with the phrase, they think it's all over. Of course, it's Nick Hancock. Coming up on today's Cash in the Celebrity Attic, Nick spots foul play on the pitch.
Pesky Victorians.
Oh, they were medallers.
Is victim to some underhand tactics.
It's easy, Johnny, to get stung. In that cupboard, I've got 3 shrouds of Turin. You know, people tell you, they seem convincing.
And so ends up playing dirty himself.
Either people are being really generous or you're rubbish at your job.
But will he be celebrating or commiserating when the final whistle blows? Kicking off today is well-known funny man Nick Hancock, who's not averse to regularly dragging his wife Shari and children Lolly and Harvey into his obsession with the beautiful game. He made a departure from our television screens in 2005 to spend more time with his family. But now he's back, hosting a new primetime show and hoping the Cash in the Attic team can help him reach a top score.
Hi, Jules.
John T, here we are, fabulous house, fabulous owner.
I know, can't wait to meet Nick.
Well, he's a real sporting fan, Stoke City.
He's Stoke, isn't he?
He's Stoke.
I'm a Spurs fan.
Are you going to get on?
I don't know yet. But I'm hoping for some sporting memorabilia, that would be great.
Well, there should be tons of it, and we're in a fantastically historic part of the country,
Yeah.
and it's a lovely historic building, so you never know, it could be full of all kinds of bits and
Well,
pieces.
you never know till you get in.
Right then, let's go. Go and have a look around, and I'll meet the family.
OK.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having us in your lovely home.
We're delighted to have you here.
Now, who have you got alongside you today?
We have Sally.
Now, Sally, I believe, is from the charity that you have
She
nominated
is. She is from
today.
your staff's Special Adventure Playground.
Now, Nick, why is that a charity that's dear to your heart?
It's something that's always sort of affected me because my aunt and uncle both worked with both adults and children with disabilities. So from a young age, you know, I'd visited special schools and places like that, and it was something I'm very keen to get my kids to do, to go down there as well, because I think that sort of integration,
Break down the barriers and the stereotypes.
It's a good thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic.
Now, collecting and valuables, because that's what it's all about, mate. You know, how much loot have you got lying around?
Do you know there's a lot of tat in this house? There's a lot of rubbish.
We don't want your tap. We want the stuff that's going to make some money.
On the window, there should be a big sign that says "Closing down sale." Things that barely work available in this house.
I mean, give me a figure. What would be a nice figure to walk away from?
I reckon everything in this house added together is worth about £2,100.
But if we...
So I'm hoping we'll raise about £2,000 and I'll have plenty of room.
Sally, what would you do with £2,000? What kind of difference would it make to the charity?
We have a multi-sensory tunnel where the children can crawl into it and all sorts of things happen as they touch various areas. And that really needs replacing. £2,000 would do that for us.
We'd see that off?
Yeah.
I think the thing now is to go and see if Jonty has managed to rake through all your stuff and find £2,000 worth of bits and pieces, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Go on then, Sally, lead
Right,
on. Let's see if we
okay.
can find him in this labyrinth of your home.
Jonty!
Nick's beautiful home is not that far removed from the palatial retreats of the footballers he so admires, so I'm hopeful that we should find plenty of antiques and collectibles that should raise a decent amount of money for a charity that's clearly very close to Nick's heart. And helping us value those finds is, of course, Jonty, who, with nearly 30 years' experience in the antiques trade, has already made a start and uncovered a rarity in a division of its own. Now, Jonty, look at him, pilfering the silver already.
I'm almost speechless. You know, Nick,
Yep.
this is no ordinary silver sale. We've got this amazing...
Presented to Stanley Matthews, yes, and that's one thing that's nice about it, but what I think is most nice about it is the fact it was from public subscription.
Yes.
And in those days when footballers didn't earn an awful lot of money, and Matthews, of course, was the first global superstar. I mean, possibly even of sport in general. And this was, a tribute from the people of Stoke-on-Trent for him becoming the most capped.
A son of a boxer.
A boxer, boxing barber.
Yeah, Jack, the boxing barber.
There you go. You're trumping me.
Presumably, he'd be. Do you think he'd be quite amused, about the fact that this plate has now resurfaced here?
He'd be pleased that at least it was a football person had it and somebody who liked Stoke.
So would you be happy to sell this?
Oh, yeah, I am willing to. It's a little bit of a wrench, I have to admit, but it's for the playground, so I'm happy.
I would think that's a huge wrench for you.
Yeah.
Stanley Matthews Salver.
I know, but I don't have a lot of use for salvers these days.
The butler's got his day off today.
That's right. No cards on it.
What sort of money though, John T? I mean, if
£500, possibly £1,000.
Really, that would be
sort of
superb.
ballpark.
The trouble is, I know one person that would definitely buy it, but it's me, unfortunately.
I was going to say, you still let it go for £1,000.
Yeah. So we're going to
That
sell
would be
one?
great. I mean, that would be fantastic. It'd be halfway to our target, so
And this is only the first item. There are a lot of rooms in this house, Nick.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. You say clutter. I think there's money in here.
Tat.
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Let's go and have a look.
All right,
Let's go
great.
see
Well,
what
that's
else
a
we
good
can
start.
find.
Happy with that.
Let's hope the Silver Salver receives a heroic welcome in the sale room. But until then, we have a lot of searching to do if we're going to reach that ambitious £2,000 target. In the hallway is this Victorian oak umbrella stand, complete with brass rails that should attract all sorts of bidders at auction, with its valuation of £80 to £120. Now, a little dicky bird has told me that Nick's not a fan of this Scottish-made clock, but then what would you expect from an England fan?
Now, Nick, this rather dominates the room somewhat.
It does. I know, as far as I know, always has done, because this was already here when we moved in. This was part of the fixtures and fittings, I suppose.
So have you ever wound it, ever heard it chime?
I'm not sure that I've ever touched it in all the time it's been here, literally.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of big clocks like this.
So you don't like the sound of the ticking clock in the room and the strike?
A bit eerie.
Really?
Yeah. Be interested to know if it's worth anything, of course.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at its proportion. Yeah. If you look at the hood and if you look at the casing itself, it all has the proportion of being an 18th century clock, but it's been drastically altered, probably in the Victorian era.
Those pesky Victorians.
Oh, they were medallers. They were medallers, all right. So if you look at the door here, originally that would have been completely plain, no decoration on there at all, but the Victorians have put all this floral work onto it. They had to modernise it. So this is a Victorian modernisation of a long case, effectively. Dealers will still be interested in this, but it might be for scrap only. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing to say, but that's probably what you're looking at.
That doesn't break my heart, because it's not something that I have a relationship with, if you like.
Yeah,
It's just been stood in the corner.
Yeah. So for your condemned clock, well, you're looking at sort of £300 to £350 at auction, that kind of ballpark.
If it's for scrap, that doesn't sound too bad to me, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah. So one for the auction sale?
Yeah, definitely. Happy with that.
OK. Super.
Right.
Let's march on.
Onwards and upwards.
Well, if Nick's happy to see the back of it, then so are we. And maybe if we make use of wife Shari's heavenly find, we could guarantee a good day at auction with this 19th century rosewood prayer chair, valued at £100 to £150. Meanwhile, daughter Lolly is tackling those cardboard boxes that have been collecting dust in the attic, which gives me time to take our star player out of the game. Now, this is a lovely part of the house, Nick.
Well, this is our room for best, in the time-honoured fashion, like my parents had a room, the front parlour, I suppose you'd call it, and that nobody's allowed in unless it's a very special occasion.
But clearly lived in by a man who is not ordinary at all, Nick. I mean, you've had an extraordinary career, really.
Very lucky with I think it's all over to get a show that runs for 10 years, 18 series.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's lovely to have.
And I mean, Room 101 too. I mean, 4 or 5 years of...
Yeah, well, Room 101 was even longer than that for me because I started on the radio, so we did it on the radio for quite a long time.
Right.
And then, I mean, I actually sort of got quite tired of that after a bit because it's one-on-one can be, as you're experiencing now, quite hard work.
Not with your good self, though, I might add, yeah.
And so it was lovely when Paul said he wanted to do it because it was my idea the show was, along with a couple of other people. And so for Paul to want to do it, Paul Merton, that was nice, actually.
Now, many people watching this won't know, but you did start with Mr. Bean.
The funny thing about Mr. Bean is, it's an incredible phenomenon. It goes all around the world, and obviously being predominantly silent, that helps. Once I was doing a documentary in Iran, and we desperately had to get permission from the Iranian FA to film inside the stadium
Yeah.
and things like that, which was quite a heavy, sort of almost Midnight Express type meeting. And there's this guy there, and he was really difficult to get through to. And then suddenly, we're in the meeting, and he goes, "You were in Mr. Bean! You want this contract very much," he says. "I will be Mr. Bean. You must be the man who steals Mr. Bean's camera," which you were in the programme. And you were standing my bin, because what happened was I got a bin put over my head and Rowan poked me with a pen. So there I am in Tehran with a bin over my head, being poked in the arm by the pen of a senior Iranian football official. And I think that shows you how famous Mr. Bean is.
Well, through such a varied career, Nick, with such colourful characters and colourful events, clearly there's an awful lot in this house, which I think will be of interest to an awful lot of people if we can get it to auction.
Yeah.
Let's carry on looking, shall
Absolutely, absolutely.
Come on then.
Let's do it.
If we want to get a new sensory tunnel for the North Staffordshire Adventure Playground, we'll need plenty of collectibles. And Jonty hopes this Regency Giltwood mirror, which has hung in Nick's bedroom for many years, could top up our fund by at least £60 to £100. He's also got his eyes on these magnificent Louis XV style armchairs, which surely Nick will try to hold on to.
Now, Jonty, these chairs are something I'm very, very, very keen to get rid of.
Okay. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I'm not quite sure how they appeared in my house. I think it was some sort of osmosis.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, I think I had dinner with my brother-in-law and he sold them to me.
Were you very drunk at the time?
I think possibly. And, you know, I just think they're ugly, really, to tell you the honest truth. I don't know what you think.
Stylistically, they look very French. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
They have that sort of French feel to
Yep.
them. If you look at the back, you look at the scroll arms, and you look at the shape, the stylised cabriole leg to the base there. This is a British interpretation of a chair, of a French chair.
Right.
But there is a downside to them, and it's probably something you've noticed, is the length of the seat.
Yeah.
It's not very deep.
No, I mean, that's one of the things about them. You know, I don't think they're beautiful enough to purely be
Yeah.
decoration, and they're not really terribly practical, to
Yes,
tell you the honest truth.
yeah. Well, so would you obviously be happy to put them in?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Sale?
But what are we looking at? What
Well,
do you think?
ballpark for a pair of chairs like this, you're looking at £300 to £500 at the auction sale.
Really?
Yeah. So into the sale.
Yes, be gone.
Good, excellent. I'll put those back. Which way now, sir?
This way.
That way.
Yeah. My brother-in-law sold me those chairs, and I thought he'd sold me a pup, but they're worth more than I thought. So well done, Reza, and let's hope they do well at auction.
Well, they may appear to be fit for a king, but our referee has called time on the 19th century mahogany armchairs, and it's going to be a red card for the Edwardian Spirit Decanter 2. Known in the trade as a cluck-cluck decanter due to the wonderful sound that wine makes when poured from it, who wouldn't take it home for between £60 to £100? Now it's upstairs to son Harvey's bedroom, who is a chip off the old block when it comes to football.
Now, I've got one or two shirts in here, some of which are of interest and lots of which aren't.
I mean, it's football-tastic. I mean, no surprise that we're in Harvey's room.
This is Harvey's room, of course.
Look, look at that, Stoke City. He's clearly following in his father's footsteps, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Well, he's got little or no choice about it.
What was this?
This, I thought, might be of interest. I don't know. It's a England under-21 shirt. Mm-hmm. Garth Crooks.
Garth Crooks now pundit.
Famously, yes,
yeah.
indeed. But played for Stoke and won this when he was at Stoke.
Clearly under 21, because I'm not sure
He's
fit
tiny,
in that
isn't
now,
he?
isn't he?
It's tiny. You don't think 1980 was a time when people had rickets and malnutrition, but evidently they did. But yeah, I think that's. I mean, it's the real McCoy.
Well, the man that's going to tell us, I think, is probably Jonty.
Yes.
I think he's next door. So, but Jonty, have you got a minute?
What do we got there?
Garth
This
Crooks,
Jonty.
under 21, England shirt.
Great. Now, he was the first black player to ever score an FA Cup final.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite
Against Manchester City.
That's right. How do you know that this is Garth's shirt?
Well, I bought it at auction.
Okay.
And it was a gift to Terry Conroy from Garth. Now,
Yeah.
that's a question I've always been interested in.
Yeah.
If you bought something from an auction and have the
Yes.
catalogue, does that count as provenance or not?
Yes, it's good. It's written proof. Because at the end of the day, you can buy a shirt like this for next to nothing in any retail shop.
It's easy, Johnny, to get stung. In that cupboard, I've got 3 shrouds of Turin. People tell you, they seem convincing, and
Can you hazard a guess as to what that's worth?
I don't know, £150 probably
Okay,
would be my guess.
Right.
On a good day.
I'm going to play a little game with you, if it's all right with you.
Right.
Take this along to the auction sale.
Yeah.
And what I'll do, I'll reveal what I think it's worth just prior to the auction sale, I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on, lead on, sir. Our goal is to make £2,000 by the end of the day, and that means tracking down some more items as quickly as we can. Sally makes a beeline for this George I style chair. With its striking design and colourful upholstery, Jonty thinks it could command a high price at £150 to £200. And her success gives me a chance to catch up with Nick's wife, Shari. Now, what's it like being married to a man like Nick?
Nightmare.
It can't be a nightmare.
No, he's lovely.
Yeah.
He's a hands-on father, which is the most important thing. He's great with the kids.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
Now, there is quite an interesting story about the way he proposed, isn't there? Go on, tell us about that.
Well, we were in the Grotti's pub in Soho, which we loved. He came round and said, I think I've got something stuck in my tooth. I said, let's have a look, and out popped this ring.
So he had the ring in his mouth?
He had it on his tongue, yeah. And the ring was there.
Did you feel overwhelmed with romance at that point?
I was shocked, thinking, it's not the nicest pub, but it's, one that I'll remember forever and ever. And obviously I had a look at it, said it was gorgeous, and immediately said, can I change it?
So, he knew what he was taking on then. Clearly a woman that knows her own mind.
Exactly.
Well, talk of the devil, here he is. Come in, Mr. Hancock. I've been getting the dirt on your...
I bet you have. I dread to think what she's been saying.
It's all been good. It's all been good. Now, the whole Stoke City connection, Nick, is it something that's in the blood if you're born up here?
Well, it depends, on which side of the city you're born. But for me, I went from a very early age. I went with my grandfather, who used to be great going with him because, he was relatively old and he used to drive to the game. We used to get them, we used to go in. And every single time we came out of the ground, he'd go, I've forgotten where I've parked the car. Without failing, we used to go straight from the ground to the police station, and the sergeant used to be there on the desk, go, Mr. Hancock, yes, we found your car for you, and they'd actually go off and look for it during the game. So I've been going since I was at my grandfather's knee, never mind my father's knee.
Brilliant. Well, we could sit here all day, of course. But there is an awful lot to look around, and a lot to find, and a lot to rummage for. So I suggest, if we may, let's go and continue.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, I don't want to appear a hard taskmaster, but if we want to help out Nick's charity, we do need to get a move on. And taking me at my word, it's just as well Jonty doesn't trip on the stairs, because his next find, this fabulous Persian steel helmet, is not the sort of thing you'd want to fall on. With its scrolling foliage and chainmail neckguard, I hope it will protect our interests at auction and make its £200 to £300 estimate. However, we still haven't reached our target, and Jonty's got his hands on a poetic find. But with so much football mania in this house, I hope our host isn't too easily distracted.
Now, Jonty, I know you were quite excited about my Stanley Matthews Silver Salver.
Yeah.
Well, nobody is allowed in this house without being forced to see my favourite thing of all, which is Stanley Matthews's 1953 FA Cup Winners' Medal. Wow. There you go.
Absolutely. What a wonderful object. What inspired you to buy it?
Well, Matthews, obviously, as we discussed before, it's such an icon. And I actually went to the sale to buy the salver and one or two other things, and it came up for sale, and I thought, I could own this, possibly. And it was a bit of an impulse buy, but one that I certainly have never regretted.
Yeah, this was the only medal the only FA Cup medal that he obviously possessed.
That he won, and indeed, in some ways, it's the most famous individual FA Cup medal. Football's a team sport, and yet it was called the Matthews Final. And the whole of the country were willing him to win this, to win an FA Cup winners' medal because he'd never won one.
Yeah. How wonderful.
Sadly, I have to say, right here and now, it's not going to go to auction. It's something I
Well, I can perfectly understand that.
probably never sell.
It's a fantastic one-off object. But if you put that back for safekeeping, because obviously I'm looking for objects that we can put into the auction sale,
All right.
and I found old Byron.
Lord Byron, who also was from Stoke.
Yes, of course.
Well, all right, maybe not.
Well, he lived near Newstead Abbey. Now, that's near Nottingham.
Right.
But this is a bust here by Wedgwood, of course, Stoke-on-Trent, and would have been made around the sort of turn of the century, because that's when Wedgwood produced quite a lot of these, of famous figures and famous poets and historians.
We're talking about the turn of the 20th century.
That's right, so we're talking about 120 years ago.
I got excited then when you said Wedgwood was making. I thought, hold on, we're talking about...
No, well, the factory was,
The
because
factory,
it's
fine.
still recognised as Wedgwood's, of course. Yeah. But because there are a lot of them around, and even though we've got the stamp here, the impress mark of Wedgwood here, it's only going to be worth sort of £50, £80, that sort of ballpark.
Is it really?
Yeah. Where did he come from?
That's something that my father bought. Now, my father's passionate about pots particularly, but, you know, anything made in Stoke-on-Trent, so he would have bought that.
I'll pop them down there.
OK.
And soldier on.
Yep.
Go this way?
Yep, let's go. Byron, my dad won't be very happy if Byron doesn't make a decent amount. I know he's pinning his hopes on that one doing well, so we'll see.
Byron may have been mad, bad and dangerous to know, but did he win 4 gold medals? Well, Matthew Pinsent did, and so his signed Olympic shirt should get plenty of interest at between £200 and £400. But while we found some top-notch bits and pieces here today, nothing has prepared us for our final conquest.
And we've got all sorts of nonsense. We've got candles, they're not going to be worth anything. Football statues, these lights.
This, though,
Yeah?
excites me quite a lot.
Does it?
I have to say, well, I love
There's a sword as well.
Did you buy these?
No, these, I mean, I just presume that these are some sort of decorative Victorian remakey thing, but they were on the wall when we moved in. In fact, I took them down because I didn't really like them.
John C.
Oh, I say.
What do we think?
Can I have a look at the helmet?
Yeah. What do you think of those? Because it's a wonderful object. I say I'd buy that off you.
Now, stylistically, of course, it looks Cromwellian.
Yeah.
But more often than not, these tend to be Victorian copies.
That's what I'd thought, but...
So let's turn up on the underside, because that's where you're looking for natural wear and natural oxidisation.
And have we got any?
If you see the wear on the underside there...
It's a kind of patina, isn't it?
I like that. Yeah. I really like
good.
that.
Is this exciting?
It's good. Well, I believe this to possibly be Cromwellian.
OK.
If it's Victorian, then you're talking 200 to 300.
Oh, that's not bad either.
Before we go any further, it's going to be more like 300 to 500 if it's Cromwellian.
That's not a massive difference, is it?
No,
for 200 years.
No, you're absolutely right. But
having a small boy in the house, this is the most incredibly tempting item.
let me put this
sword.
down. I'll put that down.
He just wants to be playing with this all the time.
Let's have a look at this.
Do you think it's the same period, John?
No, stylistically, if you look at this Pierce basket hilt here, this is style of late 17th century, early 18th century.
Right.
And if you look at the handle, now that is shark skin.
Yeah.
Which to me, again, looks like it's right. It's correct.
Would this have been a normal soldier's sword, or is this
No, this would be an officer's sword.
Yeah, I was
it's
going to
smart
say,
enough.
you can't imagine them having enough shark skin for everybody to have a bit, can you, really?
And what kind of money, though, Johnson?
300 to 400 quid.
Well, that's a bonus right at the end.
So that's definitely going in the auction, along with the helmet, along with a whole load of other stuff.
Yeah.
Which I suppose brings us towards the
Well,
end of our...
don't tell us the total, whatever you do, because I know that Sally's going to want to hear. And
Oh, yeah.
I can see that Shari's listening in at the door, as always.
Shari.
So you may as well come in.
Come in, girls. Now, do remember, while you may not need a licence to keep weaponry of this kind in your home, it is important to always have it carefully stored or displayed out of harm's way. So, Jonty, the end of quite an interesting day, I think.
It's been fab. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I have to say, we've got one very generous man here.
The figure we were chasing was in the order of...
2,000, what we thought would be nice. That would get the
2,000.
tunnel, wouldn't it? You were talking about. Yeah.
2,000. Well, here's the news. The figure at the moment, without Garth Crook's shirt, 2,600.
Wow.
Great, couldn't be happier.
Well, Nick, you've been incredibly generous. Fingers crossed. Let's go to an auction. Jonty and I have had a great day hunting around Nick's home, and on our travels we've found some really spectacular items to take to the auction. The commemorative Stanley Matthews silver salver worth an amazing £500 to £1,000. That pair of Louis XV style chairs, which Nick can't wait to see the back of, valued at between £300 and £500. And with a price tag of between 50 and 80 quid, the Wedgwood portrait bust of Lord Byron. And finally, of course, that Garth Crooks under-21s England shirt. But we'll have to wait for Jonty to reveal its price when we get to the auction. Still to come on Cash in the Celebrity Attic, Jonty throws down the gauntlet.
Don't take any notice of your husband.
Well, no, she doesn't, so that's not a problem.
175.
And Nick's getting wound up.
Do you remember watch Cash in the Attic and every time people would clap, I go, I wish they wouldn't clap.
But at the end of the auction, will we have made our target? Find out when the final hammer falls. Now, it's been a couple of weeks since we helped Nick Hancock search through his fascinating house for antiques and collectibles that we could sell here today at Bamford's in Matlock. Now, You'll recall that Nick was trying to raise around £2,000 for his chosen charity, the North Staffordshire Adventure Playground, which sets out to help children with very special needs. So let's hope that today's bidders are feeling flush as we see his items go under the hammer. Well, the auction's beginning to fill up, but first things first, have we really got a 17th century Cromwellian helmet on our hands or not? Morning, John T.
Ah, Jules.
How are you?
Good.
Well, I can see the armour's arrived from Nick's fantastic collection, wasn't it?
Amazing, amazing. Well, I've had a good chat with James the auctioneer about it, and it's his opinion that he reckons it's the real McCoy. Very exciting.
Interesting. Well, I wouldn't mind that myself, so it'd be quite fascinating to see what happens. But we did have a lovely collection of stuff at Nick's, didn't we? What a wonderful day that was.
Nick's been really very, very generous. The silver salver, the Stanley Matthews silver salver, what a wonderful object. Now, what we need is another nut like Nick, another fanatic who loves Stoke and wants to bid on that silver salver.
Now, you're a bit cagey about the Garth Crooks shirt. Have you got a value for me yet?
I'm still going to be cagey about that, but I'll tell you and Nick before the sale starts.
All right, OK, fine. Let's see if Nick's here. Word has obviously got out about Nick's highly desirable collectibles because it's like a Premiership football match in here today, with the stands and terraces full of admiring fans. I just hope they weren't after the Georgian-style chair, which, after some careful thought, Nick has decided to leave at home. And checking out the talent at the back, I see him, wife Shari and charity friend Sally, who are hoping to strike it big in the sale room. Well, good morning, gang.
Hi, there you are.
How are you, Sally? Nice to see you, Shari. Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you, nice to see you.
Looking at the Garth Crooks shirt.
Garth Crooks shirt.
Yes.
Now, all your other stuff's here, but of course, we do not know, Nick, what the value of this shirt
No.
is. I thought about £250. What did you think?
I can't really remember. I think it was about 150 I went for.
You're nearest.
Am I?
Yeah, yeah. I reckon it's going to be worth between sort of £100 and £150 at a general sale. Okay, so that's the sort of ballpark that it should sell for.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you feeling about all your other lots?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too, I'm,
Yeah?
I'm sort of rather tempted to bid for some of them if they don't go for enough, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
So if I suddenly disappear, you know,
Okay. Anything particular that you're very excited about?
I'd like the silver salver to go for the right money. I mean, not just for the playground's point of view, but because I'd like to see it go for the right money.
Fine. So if we put a reserve of, say, £500 on it?
Yeah, that'd be good, except I've since discovered that I actually paid quite a lot more for it than I'd originally said. Only about twice as much.
Well, as you can hear, it's already started, so I think without further ado, let's get on and see if we can make a few quid. After you. With the Garth Crooks shirt, our new rummage total will be a whopping £2,700. But remember, if you're planning on buying or selling valuables at auction, then you will be responsible for paying commission, and other charges may apply, so do check with your local auction house for further details. But as we hurry into position, our first item takes to the floor, and we're hoping it'll be the bidder's tipple at between £60 and £100.
Lot number 50, here we are, it's the Cluck Cluck or Glug Glug decanter with a silver collar, and I can start it on an absentee bid of £45 and 50 to AC. At 45, 50 in the centre, 5, 60, 5, 70, 5, 75 where? At 75, new place, 80. One more. At £75, 80 to AC, 70, 80 new place, 85 Gary, 85, 90. 90 yes. At £85 to the right at 85. Are we all sure? At £85, it's yours. Thank you.
Not a bad start.
I only paid £284.
Taking a strong lead at 85 quid, the Edwardian Spirit decanter is just the start we needed. And I hope the bidder's generosity lasts for the whole day, because we've got that massive £2,000 target to reach. So will our Wedgwood masterpiece, made in Nick's beloved Stoke-on-Trent, bring home a sizable amount too? Well, next to go under the hammer is your busty Byron, Nick.
It's the 4Bs, the black basalt Byron bust.
That's the one. £50 to £80, John T.
That's right. It was from your father, wasn't it?
My dad, yeah, so he'll be very interested to see how this one goes.
Yeah.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bids on it. The lowest bid is with an estimate at 70. Then I've got one of 90, 95, 105, 110 and higher. So 120 starts at 130 now. At £120, 130. 130, 140, 150, sir. 150 head, 150 to AC. 150 new place. 160. At 150 to the left. One more. 160. 170. 180. 175. 175. 180. Give you the same option, 180
We're
short.
100 quid over the estimate.
175, fourth row, at £175. Anybody else? It's yours, thank you.
I've got to say, Johnny, that either people are being really generous or you're rubbish at your job.
You know which one it is. I'm rubbish.
I'm pleased. Playground will be pleased, but especially my dad will be pleased that it's gone. Mad, bad and dangerous to know Barham was, and now expensive to know, evidently.
And in fact triples Jonty's estimate. Next up is another item he was lucky enough to inherit when he bought his house that could add at least 80 quid to the total.
Lot number 70 is the Victorian oak hall stand with a little pierced gallery. Nice lot, late 19th century, and I can start the bidding here at £70. 70, 80, sir, 90, 100, 110, 120 hazard in the room. At 120, 130 new place. 140, 150 on the stairs. 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, and 10, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300, and 20. 310 if you like. 305 if you like. With you at £300, it's yours. At 300, anybody else? At £300 and selling. Are we all sure?
Extraordinary. You watch Cash in the Attic, and every time people would clap, I go, I wish they wouldn't clap.
That deserved a clap.
At £300, that sale deserves a standing ovation and takes us a bit closer to hitting our £2,000 target. But will Nick's unwanted 18th century style chairs sit well with the bidders at their asking price of between £300 and £500?
Well, guys, the next thing, this pair of armchairs that are in your hallway.
That's right.
Where did they come from?
They're brother-in-law, aren't they? Your brother.
Your brother was all right, you know. Don't take any notice of your husband.
Well, no, she doesn't, so that's not a problem. She doesn't need your help for that.
So £200 starts them, 200, 220 now. 220 at £200 and 20 do I see. At 200, 220, yes. 220, 240, 260. 260, 250 if it helps. At 240 with me. 250 do I see. At 240, you happy to sell them?
You make up the difference straight away. Yeah.
At 240, selling at £240.
Oh, disappointing.
Selling for £60 less than we'd hoped for, and with such a high target to reach, we can't afford any more sales like that one. We need the signed Matthew Pinson Olympic shirt to sell well and get us back on the right track. But no medals at this auction when his shirt's withdrawn from the sale,
Nope, sorry, that's not sold.
leaving a gaping £200 hole in our fund. Hopefully, though, the bidders will have a bit more faith in our next lot.
Lot 90 is this Victorian trade year chair in rosewood at £90, 100 now. 100 should be hands everywhere at that at £100. It's worth it. £100, 100 bid, 110, 110, 120. At £110, that's not expensive. Anybody else for it? At 110 and selling. With you at £110, all done.
She's got a room full of unbelievers.
Well, they didn't worship the prayer chair quite as much as we'd hoped for, but it's still a reasonable £110 in the kitty. And now it's the turn of the George III long case clock. But Jonty thinks with its Victorian additions, dealers may only want it for scrap, which could mean a low price.
Where did it come from?
It was another one left in the house.
This really is the money for nothing sale,
It was
isn't it?
part of the contents of the house, put it that way.
But blessed with your good provenance now.
Good looking thing, good decorative object, and let's start it at £400, please. 400, 450, 450, 550, 550, 600, 620. One more? No. Anybody else?
£620.
Isn't that great? Well done. Well done.
Staggering that anybody would pay £620 for that clock. But obviously somebody's missing a little hand on their clock and has bought it just for that.
What a result, doubling the estimate, but I wonder if Nick has any idea on just how well he's doing.
The overall figure we were chasing
It's
was
about £2 grand.
£2,000. That would make a lot of difference to your work, wouldn't it? Well, you are going to love this. The grand total, half-time, is £1,530.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Well, he may think it's all over, but it's not yet, as the second half kicks off with that Garth Crooks under-21 shirt.
Well, I'm just hoping that John will bid himself, because he's a Spurs fan, and of course Garth played for Spurs.
He did. And Stoke City then.
Yeah, well, we'll have a little bidding war if you want.
And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bids on them. So £90 starts it at £90 and 5. At £90 and 5 anywhere, 95, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150 has it. In the room at 150, 160 do I see. At 100, it's with you. It's with you at £150. 160 anywhere. To the right, at 150 and selling. Anywhere else, 150.
Are you happy with that?
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Hope Garth.
Well, he should be. At 150 quid, it's a very generous amount towards our target. But we've still got a long way to go if we want to make enough money for those much-needed improvements at the Adventure Playground. And hopefully our next item will make a huge dent in today's proceedings.
The Persian helmet, of course, has a resonance because Shah is Iranian, and Iran and Persia are in many ways the same place.
And you didn't feel like keeping it for the kids or anything like that?
No.
She'd already rejected the Persian helmet by marrying me.
230 starts it, 240 now. At 230, 240 now. At 230, 240, 250. 250, 250 has it. At 250 now, against them all. At 250...
What a result.
Selling over the estimate at £250, the bidders are certainly parting with some serious cash for Nick's remarkable goods. But there are only 3 lots left to go. So, will the bidders pay out £60 for our next floral treat?
Lot 320 is the Regency Giltwood overmantel mirror. It's had a bit of respraying, but it's still a good lot. And £60 bid, 60 and 5 now. Showing to the side there, £60 and 5 now. 570, 580, 590, 5, 110, £100 with me. And 10 do I see? At £100, all done. At 100, one more. At £100, all sure.
Right.
100 quid?
Yeah.
No, I never liked it. Never liked it. No, I didn't. I had a special benign look to it.
Well, Nick might not have liked it, but thankfully someone did, paying top dollar for it. But at last, it's time for the 1945 Stanley Matthews Silver Salver to take to the stage. And understandably, Nick's put a £500 reserve on it.
Well, Nick, this is the big one. This is the Silver Salver. I know this means a lot to you
It does.
as well.
It does. It is an item that I would actually genuinely like to keep.
Yeah.
But if it raises the right money, I'm very, very happy from the playground's point of view to let it go.
£580 bid. At 580, 590 now. At 580, 590 winking, 600, 610, 620, 630, 640. Against you. Against you at £640. 650 now. You sure? One more? No. At £640 and selling. Anybody else? 640.
That was disappointing.
Really disappointing.
Who bought it?
You're disappointed?
Yeah, it was about half what I paid for it.
I felt a bit bad for him. But at the end of the day, I just hope it's gone to a good home and someone who will love it and cherish it as much as we should have done.
But it does top up our fun by a marvellous £640, although, to be honest, I think parting with such an old favourite was always going to be tough for Nick. But now it's time for the final lot of the day, which shouldn't be so difficult to say goodbye to.
Well, next up, it's the Cromwellian helmet and sword. Now, arguments over the dates of these, Jonty.
Yeah, but I've had a good chat with James, the auctioneer, about this, and other specialists have looked at it during the viewing. So this general consensus is that it is the real deal.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 bids.
15 bids
And telephone interest as well, and internet interest.
Wow.
And £400 bid. At £400 and 50 do I see? At £400 and 50 in the room first. 450? On the phones, 450. 450 this phone. 450, 550, 550, 650, 750. 850. Yes? 850, 900, 950, £1,000, 11.
1,100 quid.
1,100 phone 1. 1,200 phone 2. 1,200. 1,300. 1,400. £1,300. Phone 1 at £1,300. Any advance?
Well done, that is fantastic.
Yeah, Nick,
Thank you. Really pleased.
congratulations.
Really pleased.
£100.
Excellent.
The funny thing was, before you contacted us, before Cash and the Acting contacted us, I've been saying, I'm going to take this down.
Yeah, he said I've had enough of those. And
Well, I
he
tell you
did.
what, I'm glad I didn't bid on it now, not when it's £1,300.
What an exceptional end to the day. And if he thinks it's all over, it is now.
The grand total now stands at £3,970.
Thank you so much. Great. Well done.
And well done to you, sir. A very, very generous contribution from both of you. Well, your house is now a little bit lighter than it was, Nick.
Yeah.
All in a very good cause. What do you make of that figure?
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the disappointing thing was all the things that were left in my house raised a lot of money. And all the things I've actually bought myself went for nothing.
Yeah.
I've obviously got the opposite of a good eye. But it's great for the playground, and the work that they do there is fantastic. So
Yeah.
it's really, really good news for me.
It's been a few weeks now since we made that staggering £3,970 at auction with Nick and Shari, and today we've come to the Special Adventure Playground in North Staffordshire with Nick to see how the money we raised can help.
I go that way, right over the roof. Whoa, like that. Places like this, they're always looking for funding year after year after year. They raise all the money one year, and then the next year they have to go looking again. So these amounts do help them.
It's a charity Nick cares a lot about, and he likes to be as hands-on as he possibly can.
Go on then, throw it. Good throw. Up. There you go. Oh my word! I suppose there's lots of charities that I could have picked. In some ways, I suppose the thing that makes this a little bit different from some of the other charities I've worked for, as in it's local. It's near to where I live. It was a neighbour that introduced me to it, and you know, it's in the area that I grew up in.
It was created to provide an exciting world for children and adults with special needs and sets out to capture their imagination and develop their skills. It's a safe and stimulating environment for families to meet and socialise.
The good thing is in the end that when you come down here and you see the smiling faces and all those cliches, but they're true, it's going to make a big difference to the kids that come here and also for the parents that bring them here.